The 50-30-20 rule. You've probably heard of it. 50% on needs, 30% on wants, 20% on savings. It sounds clean, it sounds simple, and that's exactly the problem. Because if you've ever actually tried to follow it, you've probably noticed something. It doesn't work, not because you're bad with money, but because the rule itself was never built for the world we're actually living in. So today, I want to break down exactly why this rule fails most people, and what I'd actually use instead if I wanted to build real wealth starting today. Let's start with where this rule even came from. It was popularized back in 2005 in a book about getting back on track financially after bankruptcy. At the time, average rent was a fraction of income. Healthcare costs were lower. Childcare wasn't eating a quarter of paychecks. The world has changed. The rule hasn't. So here's problem number one. The 50% needs category quietly stopped being 50% a long time ago. In most major cities today, rent alone can eat 35 to 45% of take-home pay before you've spent a single dollar on groceries, utilities, insurance, or transportation. That means by the time you've covered your actual needs, you're already blowing past the needs bucket entirely. And when that happens, people don't go back and recalculate. They just quietly steal from savings to cover the gap, which means the 20% that was supposed to build your future shrinks to 10 or 5 or nothing at all. Problem number two. The rule treats all spending like it's the same difficulty to control, but needs and wants don't really work like that day to day. Your rent is locked in for a year. Your grocery bill creeps up slowly without you noticing. Your wants category is the only one that flexes in real time, so it becomes the only lever people pull. Which means when life gets expensive, the rule quietly turns into 60-30-10, then 65-25-10. Then people give up on tracking altogether because the categories stopped meaning anything. Problem number three, and this is the one nobody talks about. The rule was built around a percentage of income, but two people earning very different incomes can both follow 50-30-20 and end up in completely different financial positions. Someone earning $40,000 a year putting 20% into savings is putting away $8,000. Someone earning $150,000 doing the same is putting away $30,000. Same rule. Wildly different outcomes. The percentage hides the part that actually matters, which is the dollar amount you need to hit your specific goals. So if the rule is broken, what actually works? Here's what I'd use instead. Step 1. Start with your number, not your percentage. Before you assign any percentage to anything, figure out what you actually need to save monthly to hit a real goal. Retiring by a certain age, a house deposit by a certain year. That number comes first. Everything else gets built around it. This flips the entire process. Instead of hoping 20% is enough, you calculate the real number and treat it like a bill you have to pay, not a leftover you hope shows up at the end of the month. Step 2. Fix your savings rate before you touch your spending categories. Pay yourself first and automate it the day your paycheck lands before you can spend a cent of it. This is the single biggest difference between people who build wealth and people who don't. It's not the percentage they use, it's that the savings happens before the spending decisions, not after. Step 3. Separate your needs into fixed and flexible, because lumping them together is exactly what breaks the 50-30-20 rule in the first place. Fixed needs are things like rent, insurance, minimum debt payments, the stuff that doesn't move month to month. Flexible needs are groceries, utilities, gas, the stuff that has some wiggle room even though it's technically essential. When you separate these, you immediately see where you actually have room to adjust, instead of treating your whole needs bucket as untouchable. Step 4. Build a real buffer category, not a guilt category. Most budgeting systems treat wants as the enemy, the thing you're supposed to feel bad about. But an unrealistic budget with zero flexibility doesn't make you disciplined, it makes you quit within a month. Give yourself a genuine, guilt-free spending category sized to your actual life, not an arbitrary 30%. A budget you can't stick to for a year isn't a good budget, no matter how good it looks on paper. Step 5. Revisit the numbers quarterly, not yearly. Income changes, rent changes, life changes. A percentage-based rule that gets set once and never touched is exactly how people end up technically following a budget while actually falling behind. Every few months, check whether your real numbers still match your real goals and adjust before the gap gets large enough to feel impossible to close. Here's the version of this that I think actually holds up. Calculate your real savings number first. Automate it immediately. Split your needs into what's fixed and what's flexible. Give yourself genuine breathing room instead of guilt-based restriction. And revisit the whole thing regularly instead of setting it once and hoping it still applies a year later. The 50-30-20 rule isn't useless. It's a fine starting point if you've never budgeted in your life and need somewhere simple to begin. But if you've been using it for years and still feel like you're not getting anywhere, it's probably not you. It's the framework. The goal was never to fit your life into someone else's percentages. It's to build a system around the actual numbers that get you where you want to go. If this helped you see budgeting differently, you'll probably get a lot out of the next video I'm putting together, which breaks down exactly how to calculate that real savings number step by step. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it.